Hello everybody, we are back and we are delighted to be back. It's been 8 months pretty much since the last DTM event of the 2020 season in rather different weather than we've got here at a scorching Monza. It is a new era of DTM. We have new cars, new rules, new drivers and new excitement. There are lots of new names on the grid. In total, we've got 12 DTM rookies, or 13 if you include Nick Cassidy, who had that one venture into DTM with the dream race at the end of the 29 season at Fuji. But in terms of full seasons and full DTM, this is indeed his first programme as well. But we've got lots of returning names and stars of DTM with us. 8 different winners on the grid. There'll be 3 different past champions of DTM joining us over the course of the season as well. So we have this fascinating battle for the 2021 season with all these new elements, all these new faces, all these new cars, new teams, of course, involved, old teams coming back, old familiar faces coming back. And who is going to come out on top? Will it be those with the DTM experience? Will it be those that have brought experience from other realms of motorsport? And the answer to all that is no idea. Nobody has got any clue whatsoever, because this is a clean slate for DTM. We've got a big, busy grid of cars lined up, poking their noses out of the garage here at Monza, getting set for the first free practice session of the season. My name's Chris Hartley. I'm going to be talking you through all of the DTM sessions this weekend and throughout the course of the 2021 season. And delighted to have made the trip and been able to make the trip out here to northern Italy to be here in what's very hot conditions. It's actually 30 degrees now, so almost reminiscent of the first round of the 2020 season, where we came off a big gap due to the worldwide pandemic, arrived at Spa and had very similar, very hot conditions. So Monza looking absolutely fantastic. Another piece of history is that this, as the cars roll towards the end of the pit lane, is the first time that the DTM has ever raced at Monza. This is, of course, one of the world great circuits, one of the historic circuits on the calendar of any motorsport championship. It's the 3rd oldest circuit in the world. It's actually going to celebrate its centenary next year in 2022. The only circuits, purpose-built race circuits, that are older than this are Brooklands in the UK and Indianapolis in the USA. So the place is absolutely steeped in history. You still have the original banked sections that you can walk around, and goodness me, they are super steep as well. You don't realise until you actually get the chance to walk on them just what the elevation and the gradient is like on those old sections of the circuit, which are still very much here. We're in the middle of a beautiful, huge park just on the edge of Monza. Just about a 30-35 minute drive away from Milan, where most of the drivers and teams will have flown to. So there is Daniel Hunkadea back in DTM, one of the drivers coming back to the championship for this season and bringing with him a wealth of experience. So he's certainly going to be one to watch, I think, during the course of the year. And there is one of the debutants, Sophia Flores, in the number 99 Abt Sportsline machine. And she's had some, of course, pre-season testing. But it'll be the first time that she turns a wheel in anger in that Audi in a competitive session coming up. It's 45 minutes as ever for the DTM first free practice session. And that gets underway on the hour, so a minute to go until the cars are released onto the circuit. And then we will have a shorter 30-minute session this afternoon. Local time here is just coming up to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. For those of you watching online from wherever you are in the world, welcome along. Glad to have your company. And then we've, of course, got the second free practice session at the end of the day, so that'll be at 4:10 local time. And again, we'll come on air about 5 minutes before that to talk you through the build-up to free practice 2. Tomorrow, of course, is the first of the main days with qualifying and a race. Same format as has been the case for a number of years in DTM now, in that we'll have a 20-minute qualifying session for race 1. That will be at 10:30 local time. And then the first race of the weekend, well, the race will start at 1:33 in the afternoon. The cars will head off onto the green flag lap at 1:30. But of course, we'll bring you all of the build-up around about 15 minutes before the race starts. Speak to some of the drivers, hear from people down on the grid, and talk you through all the stories from qualifying before that. Now, it's the same again in terms of the time on Sunday, 10:10 for qualifying, and just after 1:30 for the race starts. Right, green flag, cars heading out onto the track. Their new liveries, new cars, of course, in many cases. And what a wealth of different brands that we've got out there. Audi, Mercedes, back involved in DTM, have a big contingent this year. We've got BMW, of course, out there, and Ferraris and Lamborghinis now joining the pack as well, and a truly international field of drivers. From South Africa, we have the Van der Linde brothers, Kelvin van der Linde, who's hugely experienced GT competitor, but having his first foray into DTM, and his younger brother Sheldon, who became the first South African ever to win a DTM event last year. So they're both competing. Kelvin is in the number 3 Team Abt Sportsline Audi, and certainly I think it's going to be one to watch this year. And for BMW, race for BMW last season, of course, as well, Sheldon van der Linde, same number he had last year, number 31, with Rover Racing this year. So those two representing South Africa. Plenty of German drivers, of course, in the field. Max Gotts coming back into the championship. He'll be in the number 4 Team HRT Mercedes, bright pink its livery. We've got Mike Rockenfeller, the 2013 champion, back with us as well. He'll be number 9 this year for Team Abt Sportsline. So change of team for Rocky, and competing for Audi. Timo Glock back. He's with Rover Racing. He's the teammate to Sheldon van der Linde this year, so he's going to be the number 16 BMW, the ex-Grand Prix racer, and a driver that's won 5 times in DTM. Sophia Flores, already mentioned, German racer coming into DTM for the first time with Team Abt in the 99 green and white Audi. And that German contingent is rounded up by the 2-time champion from 2014 and 2016, Marco Wittmann, who's with Valkenhorst Motorsport this year for BMW, his traditional brand, and he's in car number 11. We also have joining the grid Vincent Abril. We have Esme Hawkey joining the grid this year for T3 Motorsports. Class champion last year in the Porsche Carrera Cup GP, somebody that's raced in the first season of the W Series. So Esme Hawkey, great to have her on the grid, keeping the British contingent up. There's no Jamie Green this year. We will have Gary Paffett, but unfortunately can't make the first 2 rounds because of his commitments elsewhere in terms of driver development. So he'll be joining the field later. It would be great to have the 2-time champion back with us. We've got Philip Ellis and Nico Muller from Switzerland. We've got Alex Albon, the Formula 1 racer, Formula 1 podium finisher, who's going to be with us as well for most of the races this season with the AlphaTauri AF Corsa Ferrari. That's number 23 to watch out for. Arjun Maini from India, great young talent in his early 20s, but also already having a lot of experience built up initially in single-seater racing. And Arjun in the number 36 Mercedes with Team Get Speed with the Indian colours, the Indian livery colours. So exciting young drivers out there to watch out for. From Belgium, we got Esteban Moot as well, joining the field, another young driver, just 19 years of age. We'll have Liam Lawson with us with Red Bull AF Corsa as well, the New Zealander who will be the youngest driver in the field, only turned 19 in February. It's about 6 or 7 months younger than Esteban Moot, so a real mix of young upcoming talent and more experienced drivers out there in the field. And that's our first chance to get a real eye in on the liveries, the cars, the drivers, and how well they might go around this circuit. Lots of chicanes here, long straights and heavy braking zones will be the key to the laps and the overtakes. We've got the first tight chicane at Retifilio, which they go around, going almost straight into off the start-finish line. We're having rolling starts this year as new 2x2 rolling start formats for DTM. And you've got also, of course, the famous final turn, the Curva Parabolica, hugely quick sweeping right-hander, which almost brings the cars right back on themselves from the back straight, which runs parallel to the start-finish straight through there at such speed, and then already pretty much carrying top speed as they come out onto the start of the start-finish straight. So going to be some huge speeds here in terms of top speeds with the huge amounts of power that we've got with some of these cars and the brake horsepower that we've got. So Liam Lawson about to...
Yes, be careful on the white line, and pressures are still quite low, so out lap, stay away from the curve.
Liam Lawson getting advice from the team to be careful, watch the pressures and keep away from the curbs to start with. So out goes Liam. 3.9 litre V8 turbo powering that Ferrari 488, which looks absolutely magnificent. And will be fairly popular, I imagine, if there's success for Ferrari at this particular venue, given we're at Monza. And Liam Lawson competing this year in the FIA Formula 2 Championship as well. He's currently 8th in that championship, just a one step down from Formula 1. New Zealand, of course, this terrific tradition of producing very talented racing drivers. And it'd be great for the nation if they could get a New Zealander back on the Formula 1 grid. He's already been a winner in Formula 2.
Yes, please.
That's Lee Casau, the Austrian, the 5-time winner in DTM. So having a conversation with the team car in the pits at the moment. We use this free practice session to shake down the cars, the teams, get a feel for the circuit, the setup, maybe try for some quick one-off laps as they look towards qualifying tomorrow morning, but also they'll be working on the longer game and seeing how the cars, the setup, the tyres work on longer runs. And there is Alex Albon going out now, Formula 1 development driver for the Red Bull F1 team, and somebody who has great memories of Italy, because it's in Italy where he got his first Formula 1 podium last season at the Tuscan Grand Prix at Mugello. Finished on the podium at the Bahrain GP as well, and pretty strong 7th in the championship in his first full season with Red Bull Racing last year. He's still involved with the team as a reserve and development driver, as I say, for this season, but he'll be curtailing those commitments with his commitments to DTM this season as well. Great pedigree, Alex Albon, in single-seater racing. I first came across him in Formula Renault Euro Cup, where he was a front runner back in 2014. He came up then through European Formula 3, through GP3. He was runner-up in the 2016 GP3 Championship, just behind a certain Charles Leclerc, who you might have heard of. 4 wins that season for him. And in 2018, he was 3rd overall in the Formula 2 Championship. The only drivers that beat him that year were George Russell and Lando Norris, the 2 British Formula 1 stars. 4 wins that season for Alex as well, before he came into Formula 1 himself with the initially with the Toro Rosso team. So very likeable driver, the dual nationality driver, British Thai driver. His dad is Nigel Albon, who raced in the British Touring Car Championship, amongst other things, for a good number of seasons. Was a front runner in that championship. Also raced in Renault Clios, did some Porsche racing successfully as well out in Asia. So comes from a great racing pedigree, does Alex. Still plenty of years of success ahead of him, I'm sure. Just 25 years of age already with that huge amount of experience built up. Well, the first times, competitive times, now starting to come through, and at the top of the times it's Sheldon van der Linde, 1 minute 48.137 second lap. He's just done a personal best in the first sector as well. Daniel Hunkadeo was at the top of the times initially. He's about half a second slower now with a 1 minute 48.137 as his best lap. It's only a 10th swapped around, actually. He's just gone ahead, just moved ahead. So as I was saying his name, he crossed the line, and he's got 6/10 quicker. So 1:48.084 for Hunkadeo, 1:48.137 now for van der Linde, who's started the lap well. Nico Muller, last year's championship runner-up, is 3rd in the number 51 Audi, 1 minute 48.609, so about half a second adrift. Only a 10th behind him is Timo Glock in the BMW, and Marco Wittmann has just moved himself up into 4th place with a 1:48.648, and Nico Muller goes to the top of the times in this free practice session and is the first driver to get into the 1:47s. So 1:47.915. Going to take a bit of getting used to this new livery for Nico. He's just gone through the shot there with the silver, black and red livery on his Team Rosberg Audi. Of course, Team Rosberg is the team that he's been fighting against with the championship for the last couple of seasons, namely Rene Rast, who took the last 2 championship titles and just pipped Nico, especially last year. Nico, 6 wins and so close to the championship title, but he's going to be right up there this year, and he gets better and better every year, the Swiss.
Audi coming behind you, then it is free.
So Max Gutz joining the fray now. He's getting a bit of data on track position and who is around him, so he doesn't get into trouble as he's building up to speed. Great to see him back in the DTM. So great success elsewhere. He's not quite hooked it up in DTM yet, but I think this might just be the year for Max because he's certainly an excellent driver. He's got a great team behind him, HRT, the Hampshire Racing team, and a good bit of kit as well. That Mercedes AMG should be very, very competitive. 6.2 litre V8 engine powers that one. So last time we saw Max Scott in the DTM, and he's always been with the Mercedes, was with Team HWA. That was the 2017 season. He's not yet been a winner in DTM. He's not yet been on the podium, actually. His best finish was a 4th place at an equally hot Moscow back in 2017. But, as I say, elsewhere, there's been great success for Max. GT Masters champion back in 2012. When he was single-seater racing at the beginning of his career. He was a Formula BMW champion. And he's also been a Blancpain Sprint Series champion back in 2014. Some good results at the Nürburgring. 24 hours as well. 3rd in class in 2016. So he ought to be there or thereabouts this season, you would suspect. There's a great overhead shot as you get to see the sweeping parabolica. That's where they come out, kick off onto the start of the lap, all peel right and head into the pits in this case. Nico Muller still the quickest. A little bit quicker than his previous lap with a 1:47.863 as Sheldon van der Linde comes into the pits with a change of Michelins by the looks of things. Hunkerdaya second. And van der Linde is 3rd quickest at the moment with a 1:48.137. Sheldon van der Linde, that is. Brother, big brother, 4th.
On the driving, right?
It's going to be a very interesting battle between these two brothers, going for the same title. Racing background, Dad Sean used to compete in the South African Touring Car Championship. That was for BMW. Won the title in 1994 and was a runner-up for a couple of seasons as well. And Sheldon, as I say, very, very impressive in DTM in particular last year, where he was a race winner, youngest and first South African race winner, as the car looks like it's not going to be heading straight back out onto the track. It's up on the Jackson, heading back into the garage for now. So he's the younger brother, age 21. They got Kelvin van der Linde, who's less experienced in DTM, but more experienced overall, I guess. And he's going to celebrate his 25th birthday here at Monza on Sunday. Right, we've had our first trip through the gravel track. And nothing too much to worry about. Marco Wittmann just understeering and getting the tyres a bit messy, which is why he's now come into the pits. So that was Marco Wittmann just running a little bit wide.
Drive forward at an angle when we drop you. Go.
But it sounds as if he's going to be in and out fairly quickly. Once they've given the car a quick check over, drops off the jacks, and yeah, indeed. Oh no, he's going to be dropped back down straight away, but he's not going to go back out. He's going to be sent back into the garage for a proper check over. Right, while we were looking at that and the replay, we've got a new driver at the top of the times, you may have noticed on the graphic, which is, not too many surprises, Alex Albon. So Ferrari, top of the times in DTM. There's a new sentence for everybody to savour. 1 minute 47.646.
Yeah, I would say I did not get the lap together in the first 2 laps where the tyre were its best. But definitely there's not really a tyre peak feelable at the moment. And the tyre came in fairly quick, I have to say. I'm not sure if they would have been ready already after the outlap, to be honest. I would say on the TCs, I think TC1 is the way to go. Maybe TC off for the first chicane. That was good. I tried it in the 3rd lap. Even F1, I think on a new tyre run, is possible to do so. Apart from that, the balance on a new tire is quite decent, I have to say. So it feels quite okay. It's a bit loose on the rear, I have to say. So on the entry phases, mainly braking into turn 8, but also through 9, 10, braking into 11. The rear is quite a bit edgy, I have to say. The front at the moment is not really an issue. Also into 7, the front feels good there. I mainly fight with the rear. I would try to make the rear a bit more stable, to be honest.
it's great to be able to have the ability to drop into these conversations between drivers and race engineers, and that gives you an insight into just how detailed the feedback can be from drivers like Marco Wittmann. Mark, of course, a two-time champion in DTM in 2014 and 2016. Hasn't had the car underneath him, certainly not last year, to challenge for the title, but hopefully it'll be a step forward for him this year. He certainly dragged the BMW up, kicking and screaming at times in places that other drivers couldn't get it, anywhere close to the podium at certain tracks, but he was the one that was able to. So, great driver is Marco, and a good guy as well. So Alex Albon, as I say, we're watching part of his second lap, not the lap that put him at the top of the times, but the lap after that. And he has put that number 23 Ferrari, which now heads into the pits, to the top of the times, just 1 minute 47.646 with the lap time. And that was only 42 thousandths of a second quicker than Nico Muller. So it's Ferrari from Audi, then Mercedes third. We have Vincent Abril, who is third quickest with a 147.724. That means 78 thousandths of a second between the top three, and Liam Lawson now joins the party. So Ferrari 1-2 because it's a 147.670 for the New Zealander as well, and that's just 24 thousandths of a second slower than Alex Albon. So terrific lap from Liam Lawson, that in the number 30 Red Bull AF Corsa Ferrari. And you've now got 78 thousandths of a second between the top four drivers: Albon, Lawson, Muller, and Vincent Abril, who, as mentioned, was in the top three until Liam Lawson put a terrific lap in there. Mike Rockenfeller trying to move himself up the order. That goes through, and that's not a bad lap. 1 minute 48.8 that he's done so far, but he's down in 12th place because it's so tightly packed at the moment. Everybody bar Lucas Auer has set a lap. Lucas Auer's been on the track, but hasn't actually done a full lap and recorded a time yet. So, of the names on the screen, Lucas Auer, who sounded like he got a few problems, we are missing at least a reasonable portion of this practice session by the looks of things. So Liam Lawson, great effort from him to go second, Muller third, and then Abril third from Ale in the south of France. He's with the HRT team in one of the Mercedes, the AMG Mercedes, 6.2 litre V8 Mercedes. New to DTM, 26 years of age, but lots of GT racing experience. He was a Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup champion in 2015. He's also raced at the Le Mans 24 Hour in 2019 in a Porsche. He's raced at Bathurst a couple of times in the 12 Hours. In 2019, he was in the top 6 overall. And lots of seasons as a front runner. He's won the championship. He was also second overall in Blancpain Endurance in 2017 as well. So brings plenty of top-end race experience with him. And he slipped into 4th place behind Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Nico Muller. Then 5th, we've got Max Gutz. 6th, we've got Daniel Huncadeo. He's the first of the drivers not in the 147, so 147.6 to 147.7 is the mark that covers the top 5. There's less than a tenth between the top 5 now. Max Gotts with a 147.744, and Daniel Huncadeo 148.084. He's only 3 tenths behind him. Sheldon van der Linde, who's in the pits at the moment, is 7th. Kelvin van der Linde, whose brother is just about a tenth or so slower than him, and his Audi is 8th. 9th is Dev Gore. We haven't mentioned Dev yet, but another new driver and an American driver back on the grid in DTM as well for the first time in a few years, from Oklahoma City. And he's actually one of the least experienced drivers out there, because he didn't even do all that much karting, really. So he's 23. He only started racing anything in karts in 2015 when he was 18 years of age. But has built up a good CV already. 13th in his first season in the Toyota Racing Series. He was a US karting champion. And as we go on board with 36 car of Arjun Maini. Now, as Arjun, he's 13th at the moment, 149.054 for Arjun, as he gets a feel for these cars. Down the gears. You have to really attack these curbs through these chicanes. Braking power on these cars, absolutely immense. But you've got to be neat and tidy and smooth coming out of those turns as well. Another 23-year-old is Arjun Maini, like Dev Gore, in his early 20s. Been racing the Asian Le Mans series for the last couple of years, fourth in it in the 2021 season earlier this year, fifth in it last year. Done some European Le Mans racing as well. But before that, he really was concentrating on single-seaters. He got as high as Formula 2. Got 3 fifth-place finishes were his best results in the 2018 F2 season. All coming on street circuits. So at Monaco, he got 2 fifth-place finishes. And at Baku, he got a similar very good result as well. Did GP3 and FIA Formula 3 as well before that. Raced at Macau in Formula 3. But actually, single-seater racing career. Well, initially it started in the JK Racing India Series, single-seaters, in 2013, where he was second. But Arjun Maini first came into prominence in Europe, in Britain, actually, in the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, as it was there. He was the runner-up in 2014, and he only missed out by just 3 points. I can't remember the points exactly, but it was sort of 480 odd points across the course of the season, and he missed out by just 3 points. The driver that beat him that season to the title was a young George Russell. So, as I say, single-seaters where Arjun started, but he's now shifted his career slightly towards, well, initially GTs, now coming into DTM and racing Tourers as well, touring cars. So, Arjun Maini going well. Max Gotts has gone to the top of the times with the 1:47.624 second now. That last lap through. That is 22 thousandths quicker than Alex Albon. So it's Mercedes to the top of the times now. Ferraris of Albon and Lawson second and third. Muller in the Audi fourth. Abril in the Mercedes fifth. Hungadea in his Mercedes sixth. And Sheldon van der Linde is the best of the BMWs, currently in seventh place. Esme Yorkie getting a feel for things. A late call-up for Esme, so it's going to be a case of just finding her feet a little bit with these cars. And she's in the sole Lamborghini that's out there at the moment. 1:49.5, her best lap time so far. So we're more or less halfway through the session. 22 minutes, 37 seconds remaining on the clock. Great sound there. As you can see the line tight in, wider and wider out as you wind up the power. And, well, if you're going to continue on the next lap, accelerate out of Parabolica. And the Ferraris, is that Albon? Yeah, Alex Albon going over the start-finish line next, but into the pits has gone Max Gotts after putting in that fastest lap of the session so far, 1:47.624. So that's 64 thousandths of a second between the top 4 now, and exactly a tenth of a second between the top 5. This is looking very, very tight. If practice 1 is anything to go by, we're going to have a very lively qualifying session tomorrow morning.
Refuel 10.
Imagine it gets rather warm inside the cockpit. You've got all that fireproof kit on as well. And the drinks bottles will be topped up fairly regularly, I would imagine, during the course of the weekend. So it's 30 degrees outside of the cockpit, but in there you've got all the engine heat and everything, and because you're working away physically. Not much in the way of ventilation, really, so want to be extremely fit, these drivers.
Also driving here, so it's quite nice.
Got 2 50-minute races to get through as well during the course of the weekend. Right, Timo Glock in the Rover Racing BMW. He slipped back a little bit over the last few minutes, so he's 11th now outside the top 10. His best lap times are 1:48.7, so he's just over a second away from the fastest time. So it wouldn't take much to put him right up there, that's for sure. And we've had Max Buch has joined the fray now. So he's put a lap time in his Mercedes, 1:49.579. 16 drivers have completed a lap. Lucas Ara's been out but not recorded a lap as yet. So testing session for the Austrian, Lucas Ara, race winner last year with BMW at the Lausitz-Ring, and 5 race victories for him in DTM. Came back after a DTM sabbatical last year, and good to have Lukey back on the grid with us this year. Hopefully he'll have a bit more luck than he had at times in 2020. So we've got the majority cars out on circuit at the moment. Timo Glock's lap, a 150.025, so that wasn't a flying lap, but this one he might be able to push a little bit harder on as he goes through and goes on the attack. Max Gotts, Liam Lawson, Arjun Maini, Sophia Flores and Lucas Auer are the drivers in the pits. Everybody else is out on circuit, and there you can see the gaps between the drivers and just how minimal they are, particularly the top 5. Not much between 6th and 7th there as well, only half a tenth of a second between them, between Hunkadea and Sheldon van der Linde. And you've got Kelvin van der Linde and Dev Gore pretty evenly matched as well in 8th and 9th positions. Marco Wittmann and Timo Glock very equal on their times. And then Rockenfeller 12th, Maini 13th, Florsch 14th, Hawkey and Spoot next up. And Maximilian Buch has just gone and put a personal best lap in to go 8th quickest in his Mercedes, in the number 18 car. So that's a time of 1:48.2. No, he's been a bit late to the party, but he's got straight on with it and already managed to put in a couple of good lap times here, particularly that one. So Max Buch looking good. From Rheinbeck in North Germany, he's substituting for Gary Paffett while he's away on Formula E duty for the first 2 events of the season. And decent substitute he certainly likes to be. He's, again, another driver with lots of Blancpain GT race experience and success. He's barely been out of the top 3 in the championship, really, for the last 6 to 7 years, winning the title in 2016, Pro Cup GT3 champion in Blancpain in 2015 and 2013 as well. And he was a former FIA GT3 European champion in 2012, so brings a real pedigree with him. Max Buch, 28-year-old German, who's with the Muka Motorsport team, the Berlin-based squad. Right, Timo Glock trying to get up the order, perhaps on this lap. It was quicker than the one before. He's getting progressively quicker. He's back into the 149s now, but he needs to be into the mid-148s to beat his previous lap time. 17 3/4 minutes left to go. Not that it's about just setting outright fastest lap times. It's about getting the car set up, checking what works and what doesn't work, perhaps more importantly, to try and get that out of the system, and then seeing what the car behaves like on a longer run. Great view there of the driver working away at the wheel. And there is Alex Albon back out on circuit. It was his last lap time, a 1:48.9, so it was fairly rapid, not to the standards he has achieved so far in the session, but it was pretty quick. Alex Albon out of the Variante Ascari, heading towards the Parabolica, and the second sector time was pretty good. Won't be a bad lap, I don't think, if he holds it together in the final sector. He's using all the circuit on the exit to the Parabolica, that is absolutely for certain. Squirts the accelerator, gets all the horsepower out of the machine he can, sprints for the line. And what's the lap time going to be like? Flashes past the commentary box window, and Alex Albon puts in a 1:48.671. So that's only a fraction slower than his best lap of the session. That lap in itself would have been good enough to put him 4th, just a thousandth behind Liam Lawson's best time. So that was a really good lap, but it hasn't made any difference to the order. But it shows that it's just not a one-lap trick pony, is Alex Albon. He's got plenty of pace and can do it time and time again, the Thai driver. So great to have him here in the championship. Really well-liked driver, very personable driver. He's always very easy to chat to. When I came across him in Renault Euro Cup and Formula 3 in his younger days, always happy to speak, and generally always with a smile on his face. So great to see what he can do, show people exactly what he can do as well. He's a terrific driver, that's for sure. It looks like he's on another half-decent lap here. Goes on the attack once more, heading into the next of the chicanes, down under the bridge, uphill braking zone. And let's watch him here. You can see he's sort of pushing the limits, but he's also very neat and tidy through that sequence of corners, so nicely done. Is he backed off, or is he still going? Possibly backed off here. Let's see if he turns and heads for the pits at the end of this lap, or continues on. Certainly up until the Variante Ascari chicane was pushing hard. Wasn't he going to stay out? And What's that lap time going to be like? 1:48.671 last time for him, and 1:48.944. A bit slower that time. So the team there of Daniel Hungadea, who was at the top of the times at the very beginning of the session. The Group M Racing team waiting the AVT pink-backed Mercedes, flashing through the shot there. You can see Liam Lawson in his Ferrari is back out on track, currently third quickest, just a fraction behind his teammates and stablemates Alex Lawson. Flashing past the commentary box window, Nico Muller, like he was pushing at the start of his lap. He's currently fourth quickest, so Muller back out there. We've got Max Scotts, Vincent Abril, Max Book, Timo Glock, Esme Hawkey and Lucas Auer, the ones in the pits. Everybody else out on the circuit with just 14 minutes to go in the session now. I expect it's going to be even busier for the last 5 or 10 minutes as well. More and more cars get back out there and try to get that crucial data. Marco Wittmann for Volkenhorst Motorsport in the middle of the pack at the moment, 11th place, but as I say, it's not necessarily about single lap pace. They're not always trying to achieve that. Certainly in Free Practice 1, more in Free Practice 2 I guess, but Free Practice 1 checking those longer runs. I'll have a look at the long run data as well between the two practice sessions and see if I can give you a bit of an insight into who looks like they're going to have the better race pace, who's able to look after the cars and the tyres that little bit better during the session, or the longer sessions. Michelin tyres now on the cars. They use the S8M compound, which is a medium compound tyre. Originally thought was to use maybe the harder S9 compound tyre, but this one is, I think, going to be a bit more of a test for the drivers in terms of managing the tyres and the tyre wear and degradation during the course of the race. ABS and traction control permitted this season. Another thing to look out for as we get into the racing is going to be success ballast this year. Top 3 will get weight added to the cars for the next round, the next race, the championship. If you win, you get 25 kilograms of success ballast. If you're second, 18 kilograms, and third place, 15 kilograms. And that will move around continuously once we get into the races this season. Starting here at Monza, you've got a month then till the Lausitz Ring, the 24th and 25th of July. Then we go to Zolder, where we were in action on 2 occasions, one of the back-to-back events last year. So that's the 6th, 7th and 8th of August at Zolder. We've got the Nürburgring on the 20th to 22nd of August. Red Bull Ring, the beautiful Spielberg in Austria, from the 3rd to the 5th of September. To Assen then in Holland from the 17th to the 19th of September. And Hockenheim, the 1st to the 3rd of October. They're the 7 confirmed events. The Norris Ring is the one that had to be moved because of the worldwide pandemic. So negotiations still underway there where the Norris Ring or that round of the championship will fit back in, but it almost certainly will be another round added in where they can, if at all possible. So, and 2 races at each event, of course, as well. So hopefully, minimum going to be a 14-round championship, but hopefully a 16-round championship it will be for this first season of the new era of DTM. All right, more and more cars going back out there now, most of them out on track. And very close between them, as I say. It's only a second, really, covering the top 12 cars out there, just a fraction over a second. And only just over half a second covering the top 4. Flashing through shot, that's the driver who's got the fastest time so far, Max Scotts. And there's another pretty rapid driver, Esteban Muth. He has not yet really recorded a time, so he's venturing pretty late out onto the circuit. The Belgian driver, as I say, just 19 years of age, but pretty rapid driver so far. It's in the Lamborghini Huracan for T3 Motorsport. That's got a 4.4 litre engine. It's from Uccle, which is just outside or just part of Brussels, and selected GT4 European Series races last year. He was a race winner in the Toyota Racing Series in 2019. He's also done a bit of Japanese Formula 3, a bit of Blancpain GT, and 1 weekend of Formula Renault Euro Cup, which was here at Monza for Esteban Muth. So he's getting up to speed now in the number 10 T3 Motorsports Lamborghini, teammate to Esme Hawkey. So the Lamborghinis, well, Esme's not done that many laps. She's had 9 laps so far, whereas a lot of drivers have done, well, 13 or 14 laps. The driver that's done the most laps so far is Kelvin van der Linde, who's done 19 laps, closely followed by Arjan Maini, who's done 17 laps in the session. So they've been the busiest drivers. Lucas Auer's been out on track, but sort of done 3/4 of a lap. Esteban Moot is the other driver who's barely been out, so this is his first real run now in the session for whatever reason, and he's put in his first lap time, which is a 150.222, but there's, I'm sure, more to come from Esteban. So Arjan Maini just flying across the line to start a new lap, just a 151.3. His best is a 149, Arjan, as there's the dust being kicked up from Esteban Moot, starting to explore the limits now as he goes on the attack. That was pushing hard and pushing wide as he made his way out of Lesmo too into Curva de Villon and through the Variante Ascari onto the next back straight and heading then towards the end of the lap at Curva Parabolica. It does not take long to negotiate the lap here at Monza in these cars. Back to Esteban Moot. We've got one coming out of the pits, which is, I can see Vincent Abril has come out of the pits in front of the commentary box, so he's going back on track in his very distinctive yellow and blue Mercedes AMG, one of the Team HRT run cars. Abril in the top 5 at the moment. Personal best, as you'd expect from Esteban Moot last time round, so he's up to 16th now, so he's the best placed Lamborghinis and a little bit quicker than Esme Hawkey, who's still in the pits currently. So he's pushing up. 18 names on the timesheet. 17 of them have put at least a few competitive lap times in. But for Lucas Auer, frustration at missing pretty much all of this session so far with some sort of issue. Just over 7.5 minutes to go then in this first DTM practice session of the season here at beautiful, historic Monza. You want to see drivers on the limit come to Monza and watch them through, attacking these chicanes, braking as late as they dare, and then straight back on the gas and just physically holding onto the cars and wrestling them through these chicanes at Retifillo and Variante Ascari and Regia as well in the middle of the lap. And then another type of challenge is they have to be brave through these high-speed sectors. Great shot of the car going under the bridge there from the static cam, and that gives you a sense with the camera still at just how quickly these cars are travelling. Give you some stats and data when I have a chance to go through the free practice one data before we come on air for the second session this afternoon, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some impressive top speeds and average speeds in amongst them. So Esteban Moot, personal best in the second sector. Best lap now is a 149.3. I think he's probably going to get into the 148s with this lap if he just holds it together, which it looks like he's done through Parabolica. So waiting for him to come through. Vincent Abril has just gone across the line in front of him to start his next lap, and Esteban Moot does get into the 148s with a 148.974. So that puts him 14th now, ahead of Maini, Flores, Hawkey, and, well, of course, Auer, who's not really been out. Everybody that's in the top 7 is out on track. Everybody that's in the top 15 is on track, with the exception of Max Buch, who's currently in the pits in the Mercedes. He's 8th fastest. 0.7 of a second, covering the top 10. Dev Gore doing a pretty impressive job on his DTM debut weekend to get himself 10th in this first session currently. So not the most experienced driver out there by any stretch of the imagination, but done a good job, the American. US karting champion just 5 years ago in 2016 in the D2 category. He's just raced US Formula 2000, some European racing as well, and the Euro Formula Open Championship with Carlin Motorsport, and a few races in Blancpain GT Series a couple of years ago as well. Like many drivers, he didn't do that much or any racing in 2020 with everything that was going on, but certainly given a good account of himself so far in the number 12 Team Rosberg Audi, teammate to Nico Müller for Rosberg, defending teams champions, of course, from that brilliant season that they had to take another title with Nico Müller last season. Not Nico Müller, Nico Müller was close to winning the title. It was, of course, René Rast who took his second consecutive title with the team last year. Not with us in DTM this season. Probably much to the relief of everybody else on the grid, because he's some driver, isn't he, René Rast? But hopefully we'll have him back in DTM in the not too distant future. It certainly would be great if we could see another battle between him and Nico Müller. But for now, Nico Müller, the best placed finisher from last year's championship, last year's runner-up. He's doing okay so far, fourth quickest in this first free practice session, but actually only, 64 thousandths of a second away from being the fastest driver out there. So it's a very competitive time. You can see from the groupings, the way the graphics tower, this new graphics system that we got this year, batches the drivers into groups with the gaps to show you just which drivers are very close to one another in the pack. You can see the top 5 together. The next 5 are all pretty much together as well, with just a few tenths of a second between them. Mercedes charging over the line. And follow a lap around then. Heading through the first chicane, Rettifilia, right then left, and then you're arcing right now. Winding up the speed all the way around into a short straight down towards the next turn at Variante de la Rogier. Another left-right chicane. A few track limits warnings coming up on the screen as well. A few cancellations of them as well. The track temperature, by the way, is 47 degrees. It's incredibly hot here today. It's just crept over 30.4 degrees now. It's getting even hotter than it was at the start of the session. And hard work to wrestle these cars around this 5.7, nearly 5.8 kilometre long circuit with the track temperature. Working the tyres hard as well at over 47 degrees. On board then with Sophia Flores, coming towards the end of her first free practice session in the DTM. Pre-season testing's gone pretty well for her. Rather different conditions at the pre-season test at Hockenheim just a few months ago, where it was snowing for part of the day. But she's given a really good account of herself so far, diversifying the different types of cars she's been racing over the last couple of years, having started a career concentrated on single-seaters. She and Esme Orki started car racing in the Ginetta Junior Championship, a fantastic championship that supports the British touring cars over in the UK. They did a part season in that in 2015, had to cut it short in the end because of finances, and then concentrated on single-seaters, competing in the ADAC, the German Formula 4 Championship. She got a couple of podiums in the 2017 season with the Muka Motorsport team. Then moved up to European Formula 3 and racing at Macau as well, where many of you will know she had that huge crash in 2018, launched her through the catch fencing, and then bravely came back from that to go back to Macau the following year. Unfortunately, retired from the race with a problem. But 2019, a strong season in the Formula Regional European Championship for Sophia, 7th overall, a couple of 4th place finishes and lots of strong points scored as well. FIA Formula 3 last year, where best result actually came here at Monza with a 12th place finish. She's the first woman to race in that championship since it had been replaced the GP3 title as it was back in 2019. It'll be good for Sophia if she can have a couple of seasons competing in the same championship. It's hard to keep darting in and out of championships and being competitive. You always need that first season under your belt, but she's certainly one driver who's going to be up to the physical conditions of Monza in this heat. She's super fit. I don't know if any of you have seen the season preview that we put out a few weeks ago, but there was some an interview and a profile with Sophia and some behind the scenes looking at her training, and goodness me, she is super fit. What an athlete she is. Some of the stuff she gets up into the gym makes me have a heart attack just watching it, to be honest. But she's going to be well up for this season, and certainly not too far away in terms of her times at the moment. 1:49.277. Not that she's, again, necessarily going for an out-and-out fast lap time. We're into the final 20 seconds or so of the session. And we've got Mercedes top, Ferrari 2nd and 3rd, Audi 4th, Mercedes 5th and 6th, and BMW 7th at the moment, and Lamborghini's 14th and 17th. So Great to have all these different makes and marks and manufacturers as the checkered flag comes out on the session. Looks as though, he's gone into the pits now, but it looks as though Max Gutz is going to end the session at the top of the time. Unless Nico Mullican throws something in with his last lap. I'm not sure it's going to be quick enough though. No, 1:49.319 for Nico. I think it was earlier in the session where they were going for the quick single lap times, and then the second half of the session they've really concentrated, most of them, a bit more on the longer runs. I suppose the exception to that being Esteban Moot, who came out pretty late and still only did 4 laps in the end, got into the high 1:48s ultimately. So checkered flag falls on the first session of the weekend here at Monza, and that gives us a real taste for what to expect during the course of the weekend. It's a really vibrant grid, lots of colour, lots of different types of car out there, lots of new drivers to the championship to show us what they can do as well, and some returning names, some familiar faces that were with us last season as well. So Max Gutz with a 1:47.624 has the honour of being the driver at the top of the times at the end of the first practice session in this new 2021 season, and of course Mercedes back involved in DTM with their car, and the gap between first and second just 22 thousandths of a second. We should be in some really close racing here at Monza this weekend. Alex Albon for Ferrari 1:47.646. Liam Lawson, his teammate, 1:47.670 just behind there. You can see the graphic of the times, and there you can see the multitude of different nationalities that we have as well. A German driver top, a Thai driver second, a New Zealand driver third, a Swiss fourth, French driver fifth, Spanish driver sixth, a South African driver seventh. So 7 different nationalities in the top 7. And then we've got Max Buch, Kelvin van der Linde and Dev Gore rounding out the top 10. And there you can see just how close the times were. Marco Wittmann for Valkenhorst. Tricky in terms of the times, but maybe he was setting up the car rather than going for a quick lap time. We'll find out more as we get closer to qualifying. Timo Glock and Mike Rockenfeller, other returning drivers from last year, just behind in 12th and 13th. Esteban Moot didn't have many laps in the car, but 14th from Arjun Maini, Sophia Flores and Esme Hawkey. It was a late call-up to the championship. So, hope you enjoyed our coverage of this first free practice session. Free practice 2 starts at 4:10 local time, and we'll be on air at 4:05 to talk you through it. From me, Chris Hartley, and the team here at Monza, thanks for watching. Bye for now.